I thought I would do a quick video on things that you should bring with you on the Exodus. And not just things that you should be bringing, but also where these things should be placed when you're getting ready to leave for the Exodus. Which placing them is just as important as bringing them, because if they're placed in the wrong place, you won't be bringing them. So that's absolutely central. The first verse to look at as it pertains to where to place them is Luke 17:31, which is if you're on the rooftop and you have things downstairs, don't go down to get them. If you're in the field, don't go back. Basically, don't go back home. Have what you have. Get ready to go at that point. In the Exodus, when you are told to leave, you leave then. You don't wait around. Um, so because of that, if you're doing the Passover in your home, keep the bug out bag either right by the front door or even better yet, in the trunk of your car. So it's already there, packed, ready to go. There is no delay. You're getting out of there. Again, we're told to have the staff in your hand, the shoes on your feet, ready to go. That is ready to go. Now don't keep the car in the garage, because then you're having to go back for something. Put the car out by the front door, so if the angel shows up and you're ready to go, you're ready to go. And if you have to take them out of the trunk, it's sitting right there on your way out, no big deal. We don't know how we actually leave to get to the boats or planes, whether we walk or we take a car. I assume we would probably take a car, but we don't know. So have them close by and handy and ready to go. That is central to the issue. The next thing is, what should we be taking and why? Obviously, you're going to need to have a tent. Some people have a camper or an RV, and that's fine if you're going to be able to get them there. And if you've got a camper or an RV, if you're going to go on a boat and the boat is a row, or specifically a roll-on, roll-off boat, which allows you to drive that truck and camper or that RV onto the boat and drive it off, then that's great. If that's something that's going to be available for you, you might want to pray about that. If you've got a camper or an RV and that's what you'd rather have, then pray and see if he'll put you on that type of vehicle or transport to get you back to Egypt to start this Exodus. And actually, again, our starting is when we leave from wherever we are. But the rally point for most of us is going to be in Egypt. The true rally point will be Mount Sinai. That's where those who are on the Exodus, that's where we'll all actually meet and then go forward from where we're going to go from that point forward. With regards to the tent, the only thing that I see in the Torah as it pertains to the requirements is Isaiah chapter 4, verse 6, that it should be a place for shade as well as a place for cover from a driving rain or storming rain. As we look at that in our Bibles, it appears to me that the "it" there is describing the covering from the Creator. But as I looked into the interlinear Bible, it looks like it actually is talking more towards our tent. So I think this is a requirement from the tent, so I'll take it that way. It may not be. You may actually have, it may just be silent on our tent. But again, we should have a tent. I think this is what we should have for the requirements. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you ever deal with winter. Don't know. Just look at it the interlinear and see how you view that. Again, that's going to be Isaiah 4:6. The next thing, and this is actually the freebie for watching this video, because I'm getting ready to sell my home. When I sell my home, I will gladly buy you either a grain mill or a mortar and pestle, because these are required to have in the Exodus, and nobody really thinks about these things. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be buying the expensive ones. I'm going to buy the cheap things so that I can buy more and buy more for more people. If you want one of those, I am glad to send it to you. If you look at it and say, well, these are rather cheap, I'd rather get something else, then that's fine. Just make sure that whatever I send actually still finds its way to somebody else in faith, so that somebody is able to use these to help themselves. And if you say, listen, I'm just going to get something better, and you don't know anybody in faith, then just pack it as well, and that way when we go to the Exodus, you can actually give it to some other family who doesn't have one of those things. again, I am very glad to send you one of those. For the mortar and pestle, you'll find that in Numbers 11:8. And that will actually also indicate that you need to have something to cook it on, which I would think of probably a cast iron skillet. So again, something to cook it on the fire, unless you just want to cook it on a rock and try to have everybody who's eating your food knock the small rocks and sand off the food. I can tell you those things would not be good for my teeth. So it's best to have a pot to cook your manna in, flour that you made from the manna. One of the things that I don't know is whether that manna is something that's going to be wet, and I can say it doesn't appear like it would be a problem, because if it was, it wouldn't indicate it specifically. If it's a wet grain, it usually will grind or clog up a mill. But they said, or the Bible says specifically, they used a hand mill, so it's something that would work for that, because He's told us that. So, but I don't know how hard it is. In other words, if you take a mortar and pestle and you just hit this little coriander, what looks like a coriander seed, with that pestle and the mortar, does it basically explode and fall into flour? I don't know. That doesn't tell us. We can't add or subtract from the Torah. So is the effort high to grind it into flour? I really don't know. All I can say is that it says we should have those things. Most people don't look at that, but we do need to have them. I'm glad to send you one. All you got to do is contact me. In addition to that, we have from Exodus 16:16 that you need to have something where you can measure out an omer of the manna per person. An omer is roughly equivalent to a half a gallon. So have a half a gallon. That's almost a tongue twister. Have a half a gallon measuring cup. That way and a bowl to put it in, a mixing bowl. So that way you get your omer and you pour it into the thing, and you go into the mixing bowl, and you go and grab the next omer for the next person who's in your tent. So again, something most people don't think of. I need to have a measuring cup. You need to have a measuring cup, because if you just put out your hands, how are you going to figure out what an omer is? So have a measuring cup so that you know. And that's, when you get down to it, that's when it becomes extremely easy for us to figure out that these instructions are for us. Those people in the Exodus who have already left Egypt, they're not going by the store on the way to say, you know, I forgot to get this. I better go ahead and get something for a measuring cup for an omer. There's no store during the Exodus that they don't stop at the Walmart to get these things. That tells us that the Creator was telling us this for our benefit. And the same thing comes when it says about the shovel. He's talking about the shovel to say, use this, and I haven't got to that point yet. Have this in your equipment. Well, why have it into the equipment? They've already left. They're not gonna, if they don't have it already, they're not gonna get it. So when he's telling you that, when he says have this in your equipment, that should be screaming to us for us to have that in our equipment. Because he wouldn't be telling those who are already on the Exodus, that's after they've reached Mount Sinai. Oh, have this. Why? We're already out here. There's nothing else we can do. Especially when it says have it in your equipment. The next thing to have, clothing. Now, again, as it pertains to clothing, it tells us the clothing doesn't wear out as well as the sandals don't wear out. And another amazing verse also says the feet don't even swell. So it doesn't matter, if you're older and thinking, oh man, when I walk 20 miles, my feet start swelling. Well, don't worry about that. It's not going to happen. So again, an amazing verse. But think of where we're going. We're going to be in heat. We're also going to be going through cold. So bring summer clothes, bring a winter clothes, bring a change. You don't need to have a lot because the clothing's not going to wear out. That brings up another point. Washing your clothes. It wouldn't be a bad idea to think about these they actually have little manual washing machines for $50. They're little plastic things. They're cheap. I wouldn't think they're that reliable, but they do exist. But we are told that we're going to have to wash our clothes. So if you're going to have to wash your clothes, you have to have something to wash them with. Now, is that just water? Do you want to bring soap? Do you want to bring soap for yourself to wash yourself? These are things to think about. It doesn't say anything about the soap, whether for ourselves or for the clothing. It does say we wash our clothes. So think about that. It does say as well that we wash ourselves. Is that because he's going to provide a stream where we do it? Or, do we take a bathtub? I cannot imagine we're lugging a bathtub with us. So I would imagine that's going to be through stream. The same thing for washing the clothes, and he'll provide that water for us. But we then still do the requirements to clean up. There's another point here. And I should go back and deal with the shovel. The shovel is Deuteronomy 23:13. And while I'm on that, there's another real great point. Again, we're going to be eating manna. This is not in the Torah. This is in the Talmud, and you can actually look it up on the Jewish Encyclopedia and under the term for manna, and you can see that the rabbis indicated that when we were eating manna, we didn't have bowel movements. So once you fully go on to manna, they say it's fully used up. Now, were the rabbis accurate? I don't know. They could be, though. We're told to have a shovel because, again, our system is not clean at that point in time. But at some point in time, it may be clean enough we don't have to worry about the shovel. And if we are, I didn't hear about the valley of the shovels. I did hear in Joshua the valley of the foreskins. But I think when we're all fully onto manna and we're not touching the quail or anything else that would create waste, and that's why they said the manna, you didn't use the bowels, is because it was fully consumed. It was 100% nutrients and nothing else, so there was no waste byproduct. So once we're fully on manna and nothing else, there may be the valley of the shovels where everybody just says, we don't need the shovels. I don't think we could say that because it's Torah to have it. I'm just being kind of facetious. Some of the things that are not mentioned, but something to think about, is fingernail clippers and toothbrushes. My fingernails break all the time, so I'm always the person who thinks about something like fingernail clippers, but certainly, not everybody needs to have them, but there need to be enough that somebody can find a fingernail clipper. Same thing, toothbrush, and that's something probably everybody's going to need, or think about at least, until you're eating manna, and manna's not going to harm your teeth, so you'll be fine at that point. The other issue that is not described, but is by extension, matches and lighters. We do know that somebody was on the Sabbath was picking up sticks. Was it for firewood? Was it for cooking temperature? I don't know that answer. He may have just been picking them up to see if he could poke somebody. I don't know. It doesn't say. We can't add to it. But it's most likely he was going to light those sticks on fire. Unless you just want to sit there and rub sticks together, then I suggest you have some matches and a lighter. Again, something to think about. You should have a shofar if you're going to be a person who is on the watch. Now, you may not be a person on the watch, in which case you don't have to worry about it. But if you're thinking I should be a person on the watch, and whether that is military people or not, who are going to be the people who are on watch, normally that's what we would think of, but they need to have a shofar, something to blow. And we have that from Ezekiel 33 that says if they blow the shofar and the person doesn't wake up, then the blood's on the person who doesn't wake up. I'm a horrible sleeper, or I'm a very heavy sleeper, so somebody's going to have to almost kick me. But as long as that person blows the shofar, the blood is not on his head. But if he doesn't blow the shofar, the blood's on his head. So if you are going and you're one of the jobs that you have is going to be on the watch for the camp, have shofar. One of the things here that is not mentioned that I think should be mentioned, again, I did mention whether you have an RV or a camper. And if you do have those and you're able to get them there, that's great. But disconnect, if you have one of those and they have a toilet system, disconnect that toilet system, because again, that cannot be in our camp. That's again Deuteronomy 23:13. That the feces is not to be in our camp. So either keep the RV and camper out of the camp, or disconnect it and get rid of that thing, and so that way, if the RV or camper comes into the camp, it doesn't have that on it. Again, I know this was just a quick video. It's just things I see and think of. And again, you have to know he's telling these things for us. Again, for the Exodus, why would he say have these things? They've already left. If that were going to be the situation, if he's saying you should have these things, then Moses should have been the one telling them that back when they were still in Egypt. And yet we heard at that point in time, the statement to them was, get the blood for the door. He didn't say get the blood for the door and have the shovel ready. So that should be an absolute key, that this is for us. The Creator took the time to warn us about something that happened 3,500 years ago, so that we know what's coming up very soon in our lives, so that we are not unprepared. So with that, I'll let it go. Like I said, if you want a mortar and pestle or a grain mill, like I said, don't hesitate to give me a call and say, listen, this, or write me on Facebook, however you want to do it. And when I sell this house, I will gladly buy one of those for you. Gladly buy one of those for you. So, talk to you soon. Thank you.